Looking at the patch of fur again, she moved it aside with her fingers to get a closer look at the skin underneath. Maybe it was just her imagination, but she could have sworn that the strange patch of fur hadn't been there before. When her husband had the strange idea of shining a UV light on the area, she couldn't believe her eyes. German resident Nicole Bohm always felt a deep affinity for animals, cats in particular. So when she found two helpless kittens in an abandoned barn that needed her help, she didn't even think twice. Feeling as if the universe had conspired for her to be in the right place at exactly the right time, she took the poor creatures home with her, not realizing what else she was bringing into her home. Nicole named the kittens Elli and Rosie. They were only a little worse for wear considering that they had been in the barn all alone without proper care for weeks. They were a little hungry and also had termites, nothing that Nicole hadn't expected. All they needed was a little TLC, or so Nicole thought. When Nicole took the kittens to the vet for a checkup, the vet prescribed them a high-calorie diet, vaccinated and dewormed them, and gave them medication for termites. Just a few weeks later, when they were all on the way to recovery, their bellies rounded out and they appeared to be thriving. Nicole had no idea that there was something that the vet had missed. Rosie and Elli rapidly doubled in size and became little monsters, getting into everything in Nicole's apartment, but she always made sure that anything that could be dangerous was put away from the curious little paws, and always kept the bathroom door closed. But as prepared as Nicole was, there was something happening to Elli that was completely unaware of. Elli and Rosie transformed dramatically during the first few months. The premium quality kibble she was feeding them had done its job, leaving their fur silky soft and their gray-green eyes bright. Nicole thought she was giving the kittens the best possible care, but there was something that she had failed to notice about Elli. Nicole was pleased with the kittens' progress and fell in love with them a little more every day, and every day their personalities were developing. Elli was the wild one, dashing around the room, stealing socks, and shredding everything she could get her paws on. Rosie was more reserved, often content to sleep the day away. But little did Nicole know, Elli was undergoing a change that will leave her unrecognizable. It happened on an ordinary day in the Bohm household. Elli and Rosie were up to their usual antics. After a play session with a catnip-filled mouse, Elli retreated to Nicole's lap for a nap. Nicole was running her fingers through her fur and admiring her beautiful tuxedo markings when she noticed it. There was a small white patch on Elli's face encircling one of her eyes. It was hardly noticeable unless you were looking for it. "That's odd," Nicole whispered to herself. She could have sworn the bright white patch hadn't been there last week, but she could be wrong. She tried to put the worry out of her mind, but her instincts were telling her that something wasn't right. She called for her husband. "Please come and have a look at this." Nicole's husband inspected the patch of fur and she moved the hair aside with her fingers so that they could get a closer look at the skin underneath. Maybe it was just her imagination. "What am I looking for?" Hans asked. He saw nothing. "Hang on," he said. "I'll be right back." When he came back with a UV light that he used to look for scorpions while hiking, Nicole was more than a little confused. But when he turned it on and shone it on Elli, she was dumbstruck. The UV light picked up all kinds of strange and swirling patterns on Elli's skin, including the half moon around her left eye. It had shown the UV light on Rosie, but it didn't have the same effect on her fur. But what would cause these kind of markings? And why could they only be detected by a UV light? "I'm taking her to the vet first thing tomorrow," Nicole murmured. All night she laid and worried about the swirling patterns on Elli. It could be normal, she reassured herself. But there was something about it she couldn't let go. It could just be her imagination. But what if it wasn't? She had read about a cat's fur discoloring due to health issue or a deficiency, and she knew that she wouldn't be able to rest until she got it checked out. There was only one thing for it. She woke up early and managed to round Elli up into her travel crate. Elli wasn't pleased with this development. She knew that the cat carrier only meant one thing: a trip to the vet. Nicole had gone through all her photos of Elli to date, and she was right. The white patch of fur hadn't been there before. The vet examined Elli, but didn't seem too concerned at first. The vet ran some more tests just to be sure. He took a skin scraping and examined it under a microscope and muttered to himself. He told Nicole that Elli was riddled with ringworm, a kind of common fungal infection, but not a major issue and not one that would normally cause fur discoloration. That's what the UV light had detected. Ringworm affects many cats, especially rescued cats. They have been exposed to the fungus. It causes inflamed rings on the skin, but some cats never develop any obvious symptoms. Ringworm is usually detected with UV light. Its swirling patterns glow under the light source. But even though Elli had been diagnosed with a fungal infection, this didn't explain why her fur was changing color. The vet prescribed antifungal medication, and then he ordered a skin biopsy to determine why Elli's fur was turning white in patches. He was beginning to suspect that there was more to Elli than met the eye. Nicole suspected that perhaps the loss of her cat's coloration was due to stress, but she was so very wrong. It was by pure chance that they all went on to discover that Elli had a rare condition. When the test results came back, the vet called Nicole immediately with the news. Elli had a rare condition, and this was just the beginning. In the week that she had waited for the test results to come back, Elli was beginning to sprout white tufts of fur all over her body. Soon she would be unrecognizable. Nicole had never heard of vitiligo until now. Vitiligo is an extremely rare condition that causes loss of pigmentation in the skin. It manifests itself as patches or tufts of white hair that soon spread to other areas of the body. It can occur both in humans and animals and can come with other complications, such as autoimmune disease. So naturally, Nicole was concerned. Thankfully, Elli appeared to be in excellent health despite having a pigmentation disorder. Her strange transformation progressed throughout the next 2 years until she became completely unrecognizable. But Elli is blissfully unaware that she is any different from her sister Rosie. Her black fur slowly turned white, and Nicole was amazed at the beautiful markings that began to appear. Snowflake-shaped white patches started to emerge as the white fur started to spread. The stark black and white tuxedo coat that Elli was born with soon became flecks of white and gray, and netizens can't get enough of the cat's breathtakingly beautiful metamorphosis. "I was surprised," Nicole said. "I'm still surprised. Elli has become a celebration of the unique and the different. Her personality is the same as ever," Nicole added. "She is as cute and lovely and as playful as the first day." And Elli became quickly a cat celebrity, with her own Instagram and Facebook pages with thousands of followers. She's becoming a silent spokesperson and a celebration for humans struggling with vitiligo too. She shows that the unique is beautiful. One follower wrote, "You are adorable. My mom has vitiligo. We didn't know that cats can have it. Big hug from Sienge and her mom." And another, "She makes me feel so good about my vitiligo. I'm so glad someone introduced Elli to me. Every day struggle with my spots." But a few years down the line, Elli's transformation is still not complete. "Her changing still goes on every day," Nicole explained. "And I love her more and more. She keeps a detailed record of her transformation in photographs and shares them with the world on Elli's Instagram page. And people can't help but marvel at Elli's beauty. Who could ever have guessed that an ordinary tuxedo cat would touch so many hearts?" Some may say that these unique features look like snowflakes, but Nicole confirms that it makes her look like a little cute owl. "She looks like a little snow owl," Nicole said. "She is so cute and her fur continues to change every day. She's a pretty cat, no matter what color her fur is." One reader wrote, "I hope she stays healthy and lives a long life." That fateful day that Nicole opened her heart and home to 2 kittens in need, she never expected that Elli had such a unique condition. And through Elli, she's teaching the world that it's okay to be different and that being unique is beautiful. Millions of people are insecure about their differences, but Elli's story shows us that these differences should be celebrated.